Today on Exploring East, we'll be talking with Josh Worthy from Sonora Elementary School.
With East Conference happening in person for the first time in a couple years, we thought that it would be helpful to get some first-hand accounts from what to expect in March.
I am Patricia Tartios.
And I am Melanie Gonzalez. Let's go exploring, East style.
Mr. Worthy, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with East?
Sure. So I've been an East facilitator for 10 years, and this is my 11th year. Our school opened up back in 2011, and Sonora was brand new. The paint hadn't dried, and we were installing an East classroom. And I've been here ever since. I don't really know anything else other than East. I've been an East teacher longer than I've been. Before I was here, I was a history teacher, and I've done East longer than I was a history teacher. And so it's kind of the best gig in the world. And if you don't want to grow up or if you want to grow up and not be an East teacher, there's something wrong with you, because it's seriously the best thing. So,
what has been your biggest achievement as an East facilitator?
Ooh, I don't know. I something that I kind of pride myself on is we were one of the first elementary schools, and at that point in Springdale, we'd had two high school East programs, and then we came along. And I feel like with what Springdale and HAR-BER had trending, like there was this buzz for East. And now, I feel like we did a pretty good job those first couple of years. And we started to see more and more elementary schools like Parson get East programs as well. And we were starting to see East wasn't just a high school thing. It was a thing for younger kids as well. And we saw success in the middle schools and the junior highs. We even have it at SOI. I feel like I got to help start that trend. I believe like what HAR-BER High School and Springdale High School, they kind of set the foundation, and I'm just glad we didn't screw it up. And so that's something that I've been very proud of, is that we can continue that trend. And I mean, you can tell when you go to a conference that there's a lot of tradition, there's a lot of high expectations from Springdale programs, and I'm just glad we kind of were able to help that trend as well.
How would you describe the feeling when you walk into conference for the first time?
So as a facilitator, it's like this big, huge relief is off your shoulders, because you've been preparing for 12 months, or in this case, 72 months. I don't know. It's been a while, right? 24 months at least for this moment. And when you walk into that exhibit hall for the first time, you're like, okay, we're here. The kids are fed. Our stuff is ready. That's when it's like a relief for me. For the kids, which this is what I enjoy watching the kids, your eyes get really big because there's so much to see. You're in this huge exhibit hall room that for a lot of our kids, it's the biggest room they've ever been in. The entire convention center stretches about half a mile. And so it's the biggest convention center in the state, and East completely takes over. So it's almost like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. The kids go wild, and it's so cool.
If you could share one piece of advice about conference, what would it be?
Wear a watch. I'm not going to give you one. I'm going to give you three. Wear a watch and have a schedule on the back of your name tag, so you know where you need to be at what time, because that can get overwhelming because it's go, 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 go. Sleep when you can. Like if Mr. Ward says, hey, lights out at 10 o'clock, do it, because you're going to need the sleep. Because your brain's going to be tired. Your body may not be tired. It will. But your brain's going to be tired because you're going to soak in so much, but you're also going to give out a ton. And probably the most important thing, wear comfortable shoes. Don't wear heels. Don't wear wedges. Don't go and buy yourself some new Jordans and wear them right out of the box. They need to be broken in a little bit. And so comfortable shoes is huge.
What is the key to having a successful East Conference, Booth?
Key to having a successful East program. Keep it fun. Embrace the struggle. We talk about the learning pit here at Sonora, where when you're working on a project, when you're working on anything from math to reading or whatever, you're going to struggle. Embrace that. Don't dismiss it. Don't think it's a bad thing. Like, the struggle is where you're learning. And eventually you're going to come out of it. It's like riding a bike. You're going to fall and skid your knee and wreck and chip a tooth, but eventually you're going to get it. I think if you can follow that simple little rule of embrace the hard times, it makes the good times even better.
As a student, what should be my goal while at conference?
Oh, I think it's really easy to get comfortable and talk to your team. Like, your conference team, there's 8 of you plus your facilitator and maybe a chaperone, and that's comfy. Talk to as many people that you don't know. At all these schools, there's going to be up to 3,000 kids there, 2,500 to 3,000 kids. Talk to as many of them as you can about whatever you want. It can be projects. It could be about the struggles of 4th or 5th grade. It could be, hey, what should I expect in middle school? It may be what you had for lunch. But talk to people, because you're going to get so many connections there. And kind of a hidden bonus is, you guys were talking to Matt Dozier a little bit ago. He's going to be wearing a special yellow, it's usually a yellow lanyard. Find those people that have the yellow lanyard and talk to them, because they work for East. They're, or maybe they're on the ambassador team or the document team, the leadership team. They kind of know how things work behind the scenes. And getting to meet those people, you only really get to meet once a year, and that's a conference. Facilitators, we get to see them a couple of times a year, which is great. But talk to them, because they know a lot of people, and they may be able to connect you with like a drone expert. Now, Mr. Ward's my drone expert. If I have a question, I talk to him. But if you need a GIS expert, they'll introduce you to a man named Charlie Fitzpatrick, who is from California, and he works for Esri. If you need, a 3D print expert, they'll introduce you to Mr. Drew Wallace, who is a 3D print expert. So if you can make those connections with the people in the yellow lanyards, you're going to have a fun time, and you're going to learn a lot.
How has your relationship with Conference Kid developed as they move on to the next level?
It's amazing, because that first conference team that I took, several, before y'all were born, or probably about the time y'all were born, they're all getting married now. And I can name that conference, like Keenan Addington. He just got back from Vegas with his girlfriend, and they're in a very serious relationship. He's a manager at Walmart. He's taken some classes here and there at NWAC. Rachel Glenn, who went to SOI, she just recently got married. She's going to school at the U of A. Garrett Vaughn, he set all these rushing records at Springdale High School as a running back. He's at the University of Arkansas. So I'm still connected with those kids more so than ever through social media and the Facebooks and the Twitter. What's really cool for me is I've made connections at conference with kids that aren't mine. First time I met a man by the name of Tevin Wooten. He was in 11th grade in Camden High School's East program, and he was filming stuff. And he went on to graduate, and he worked for Bobby Petrino at the U of A filming Razorback practices. And then he got a job at KNWA to become a weatherman. And then he went back to college at Florida State, and he got hired by the Weather Channel. And that all started at East Conference. I think California Brumstead, she was on the tech team, and she was like, she was a senior in high school, and this was back in like 2013. And she was like, Mr. Worthy, you've got some smart kids. Why don't they try to be on the tech team? And I was like, they're little. She's the one that kind of taught me. So what? She's now a veterinarian, which all her kids want to work with veterinarians. But she's a veterinarian. She streams video games on Twitch, and I sub to her channel. 3,000 people sounds like a lot of people, but like you're all part of the same family, and you just make some of the coolest connections. My best friends are East facilitators, and a lot of them live in Springdale, but a lot of them live in Hot Springs or Little Rock or Jonesboro. They're all over the place, and it's just the relation. That's the most important thing about conference is the relationships you make, whether the people on your team or the people that you meet out there. It can really set you up for success in the future.
That's really cool. In your opinion, what is something that should not be missed while at Hot Springs at conference?
It should not be missed. I gotta think. And it's going to look different this year. The schedule's a little bit different. I think, my one of my favorite things is when the buses roll up. The first person you see is typically the founder, Mr. Tim Stevenson. He started this thing like 27 years ago in Greenbrier, Arkansas. You get a chance to meet him and talk to him one-on-one, even for 30 seconds. He's a fun guy to talk to because he's seen East in its early days, the middle days, and now in the peak days where things are just growing and are amazing. When you meet him, he's a former police officer from Texas. He grew up on a ranch. He's a cowboy. You would not think that he's the guy that started this big tech revolution in Arkansas with kids, but he loves to talk to kids, and he can get a little silly sometimes, but he's a very, very smart man. I think meeting Tim is super important. Find a breakout session that's one hands-on, and those are going to come out pretty soon. But get a hands-on breakout session that interests you. I've seen kids get into breakout sessions like where they learned how to fly a drone or learned to 3D print, or maybe they were doing STEM challenges. Get one of those breakout sessions where your hands can get dirty, and they get you up and moving around. Because you sit at a computer all the time. Go get one where you're standing up and you're moving and grooving. Those are a lot of fun. What else? Ice cream. Mr. Ward takes his ice cream very seriously, and hold him to that. After the gala or after the big event, be like, hey, time to go get ice cream. And he'll find a way, whether he's going to Walgreens to get ice cream sandwiches or there is a place in Hot Springs there's several places, but he knows the good ones that have like the really good homemade stuff too. So hold Mr. Ward to ice cream.
Can you share some information on one or two of the most impactful projects that your students have worked on?
Yeah, one or two projects. So, man, there's so many. I'm really old, as my head says. I think Arkin's leg. I think a lot of people know that story, or if you haven't, it's on the East website. You can go to their EQ online magazine. But Arkin started with me in third grade. He has a prosthetic leg, and it wasn't fitting very, very well. And he said, "Hey, I want to 3D print a leg," with a little bit of coaxing. But I was like, "Hey, we could do this. You could try it." And he struggled a lot. He played with the scanner a little bit, and he actually got it over here. So like he scanned this leg. This is of his prosthetic, and this is the first thing he ever printed. That's not going to fit him, but it's the starting point. And as he grew up, he was with me for 3 years, and then he was with Mr. Ratchford at Sonora Middle School for a couple of years, and he finally 3D printed a leg. And it took him to Florida. It's given him all the confidence in the world, and it's changed his life. I think that one's really cool. And for the most part, it wasn't a success. He never took a step in this thing. The leg that he actually printed, It wasn't super secure or strong, but he learned a lot from it. And that got the attention of a couple of nonprofits in Florida. Say, hey, we're going to hook you up with a leg. That one was really cool. We've had some that have lasted 10 years, like the Sonora Mobile Library was something that we got going our second year, so almost a decade. But we got a van donated, and it's helped take books to kids, close to Parson Hills, over by the Commons and Montego Springs, all the way east to Hinesville, as far north as War Eagle Blacktop, and as far south as Elkins. And so we've had a lot of kids get access to free books for that, and that's with the help from Springdale Public Schools Education Foundation and East Initiative helped throw in a pretty big grant there. The Beyond the Bell grant, I believe, and Steve Smith, who's now retired, he helped donate the van. It's just some really cool things that have evolved. And the kids that started that project are seniors in high school now. Ricky Vaughn and Kylie Miller, and they're going to go off to college and be brilliant, and they're going to make more money than all of us. And I'm just glad that's kind of, I won't say that's where they got their start, because they were pretty bright kids before, but I think that's where they got a lot of their confidence of, hey, we did this. We got a car. We got a car donated for our school, and that car we still use. It's starting to get a little beat up. It's got some miles, but that's just a couple. Even the projects that don't even make the newspaper, the smaller projects. I've got a girl that she just 3D printed her own glasses. It's a girl named Wilhelmina. She's kind of silly, but she stuck her head outside the bus going home, and her glasses fell off her face and they broke. And her parents are really honest. We're not going to get you new glasses for about 3 or 4 more months because insurance won't cover it. And so she took her old glasses from kindergarten or first grade and made bigger frames. And so she wore these. They're not perfect. They don't fold. They're kind of welded together. I don't know if you can see. They're welded together with a soldering iron. Hold on, my lights went out. I haven't moved. Sorry. But that's a cool project, but she's got new glasses now. She has no need for these, but she learned a lot. And so, I like those little projects as well. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of East. I think every kid's got a story and everything's important.
Well, we would like to thank you so much for taking your time out of your day to help us explore East. It's been wonderful to hear what you have shared. We look forward to seeing you in March.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. You guys did a great job. Very professional.
I like your stories.
Yeah.